Welcome to this tutorial about how to calibrate the Ranger3 camera from SICK. This video will guide you through the simple steps of the calibration process. We will be using SICK's calibration and configuration software Stream Setup, so make sure you have this downloaded before we start. The first step is to make sure that the camera is mounted correctly. The most common laser camera geometry is the reversed ordinary setup, which will be used in this video. And in this setup, the laser should be mounted so the laser line is perpendicular to the direction of movement. The next step is to adjust the focus and set the region of interest, which is the part of the sensor where we want to collect the calibrated data. Place the object you want to inspect under the laser line. Then open Stream Setup, connect to your camera and go to the sensor view. Start the camera and set the region of interest so it fully covers your object. Adjust the focus and aperture of the lens. If needed, also adjust the focus of the laser and the exposure time. If the geometry, focus, or aperture are changed later, the camera needs to be recalibrated. However, the camera parameters do not affect the calibration. For example, you can use one exposure time when scanning the calibration target and a different exposure time later on. When you are satisfied with the focus and visibility of the laser line, you can move on to the calibration. We will now show you two different methods you can use to calibrate the Ranger3, Sawtooth and Dotwedge. Both methods produce the same type of calibration models, and what method to use depends mainly on your field of view. The Sawtooth method is slightly easier to use and works well for large field of views, since it is easy to produce a Sawtooth target in a bigger size. In contrast, the Dotwedge method is recommended for smaller field of views, such as those under 100 mm, because the Dotwedge target can be produced in smaller sizes than the Sawtooth. Let's start with the Sawtooth calibration method. To begin, place the target under the laser line and make sure that the target is properly aligned with the laser plane. In Stream Setup, head to the sensor view and ensure that the region of interest covers the peaks and valleys of the laser line. Capture a few sensor images with the target in different positions within the region of interest and save the images to a folder. Then enable the Calibration tab and select Sawtooth as method. Under Load, select the folder where you saved your images of the Sawtooth target. In the estimate settings, set the tooth width and height. These are indicated on the Sawtooth target, and in our case it is 20 and 10 mm. If your camera uses a shine plug adapter, make sure to check this box. Click Estimate to proceed. Now review the results of the estimated calibration. The calibration error gives you an indication of the expected accuracy of the calibration, and the feedback images show the results from the different steps in the estimation process. If everything looks good, save the calibration file. That is how you calibrate with the Sawtooth method. Now let's continue with the Dotwedge method, and after that we will show you how to upload the calibration file to the camera. Place the Dotwedge target so it's angled away from the camera to avoid reflections. It is important that the dots are aligned with the laser line. In Stream Setup, go to the Scan Data tab, and under Profile Triggering, ensure that Encoder is enabled. Make a scan and check the reflectance image to confirm that the dots are clearly visible, and then save the image for calibration. Head over to the Calibration tab and select Dotwedge as method. Load the image you just saved of the Dotwedge target. Next, you need to set the dot distance x and z. X is usually specified on the Dotwedge target. Z relates to the angle between the dot planes and must be calculated. Click Estimate and check the feedback images to validate the calibration result. If the feedback results looks good, you can save the calibration file. To upload the calibration to the camera, go to the Cameras tab. Click the 3 dots in the top right corner and select Calibrations. Choose Import User Calibration and select the calibration file you want to apply. Then go to the Scan Data tab and under Calibration, choose Calibrated. To validate the calibration, scan an object with known dimensions, such as a gauge block. In the Evaluation tab, you can use the Surface Distance tool to measure the height of the gauge block. This is one way to verify the accuracy of your calibration. If needed, adjust the calibration parameters and redo the calibration. And that's it! Now you know how to calibrate the SICK Ranger3 3D camera. For more details, please see the Stream Setup operating instructions. This can be downloaded from sick.com.